I'm Matthew Kerbis, the subscription attorney, and this is Law Subscribed, your dedicated source for all things subscriptions and the law. Thank you to my sponsors. See links to them in the show notes. Everything discussed is only for educational and entertainment purposes. Enjoy the show. All right. And we're live. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us live on another Law Subscribed Live on LinkedIn Live episode. I've got, oh boy, let's do it. We're live. Shannon Villalba, welcome to Law Subscribed.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, if our first conversation was any indication, and that was about 15 minutes or so, it just flew by, and I think we even went over on time. I think we're going to have a great conversation today. And I'll give my listeners a little context of how we met. But first, just in case they haven't come across you yet, tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am an artist first. I always say that. And if you go on my LinkedIn profile, you'll see, oh, yeah, that's right. You have a BFA and you worked in the music industry. Yeah, I did. That was what my dream was. Like, I wanted to be a full-time artist. I wanted to work in the music industry, the movie industry, doing really cool videos, editing, movies, all of that. But at the flip side, I also wanted to protect people like me. And that's how I ended up becoming a lawyer, because I realized that law is just as creative as video editing, is, putting together strategies and, learning about things. And so I just said, okay. But my path to becoming a lawyer started with my parents asking me to be a property manager for all of their real estate investments. And so they came up to me and they said, hey, we really need your help. Can you do this? And I'm like, I'm an art director. I'm an artist. I don't know how to run a business. And they said, no, we believe in you. We know you can do it. You can learn. And so I did. I learned about leases and contracts and landlord-tenant law. I was going to the law library. I was sending my lawyer things all the time. How can I go after this person? How can I do this? He's like, oh, just look it up. And so then I started wanting to argue in court because I knew the law so well. And my attorney was like, you need to go to law school. And I said, oh, okay, that's it. That's why I'm going. And then I ended up going to law school specifically for intellectual property and for business. And then I ended up getting my LLM in intellectual property as well. But on the other side, I was really into meditation and crystals and energy work. And so that I was kind of doing that concurrently. And so I would put on like this lawyer face where I'm very serious and, got my suit on and going to court and got my briefcase and blah, 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 right? Heretofore, wherefore, all of that.
Those are the first words I delete from any contract if I'm getting another party's paper. Right. Heretofore thou shall.
Right? And then here's me on the other side. Can you just feel the vibration of the room? You can feel the energy just emanating from this crystal, right? So that's two different sides of me. And for a long time, I was split. I even had like a completely different like wellness company where I brought together holistic practitioners. And I'll back up a little bit. Like, I did have cancer in 2015. I was diagnosed in December of 2015 with small cell cervical cancer. And it's a rare cancer. It's very aggressive. And of course, I was all holistic. I wanted to attack it from that angle. And I basically was told, if you just don't have the time, you've got 6 months. And I said, fine. If you're going to make me do chemo, radiation, surgery, I'm going to do everything else. I did sound healing. I did the crystal work, energy work, meditations, like anything, nutrition, all kinds of stuff. And in 5 months, I was clear. And I know it was from the combination of the traditional medicine with the holistic approach. I know it was that combination. Absolutely. I mean, I wholeheartedly believe in the power of prayer and that collective, like people just sending all of that, those well wishes and good vibes and everything that help my vibration be raised in order for healing. So I kept that in the back of my head. And so as I began practicing law again, I knew I wasn't going to practice the way that I had traditionally practiced. I got out of litigation. I didn't like that anymore. I didn't like fighting somebody else's battles because I had just been in the whole biggest fight of my life and my perspective was different.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because I started talking to my clients about the benefits of meditation. And it started with that. Let's see how we can meditate, just take a break on something, because we are counselors after all. People come to us, we talk about what 20% legal and the rest is just like us listening to what they're talking about and what they're going through. And so I was giving them just advice on like, here's how you might be able to tackle this. And then it went to, well, we'll try this essential oil or look at this crystal. And people were being really responsive to it. I'm like, oh, they like this. There's got to be a better way to practice law, because the traditional, like me sitting in an office or going into a courtroom, it just wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, I always know this is what happened. I always started thinking about my business. I was sitting on a beach, literally sitting on a beach. I was on a little island. I was away from everybody, and I kept watching the waves just go lull me into this like meditative trance. And I was thinking about, how I was balancing my chakras. And I started thinking about how we always consider a business an entity on its own. And I thought, well, what if that business then has a chakra system? If it does, what would it look like? And then all of a sudden it was just like complete download of like, oh, here's what it would look like. And I just was like, I got to get back and I got to write this down. And I worked on it for several years. And that's how I came up with the Heartsong Chara Framework. And it is actually a tool that I use to help understand complicated legal concepts, especially when you're building a business. So we started using it with a few of my clients, so like who I know are really woo aligned. And I'm like, okay, you know how we talked about balancing chakras? Well, let's see if we can balance your business. So I started talking about, your root and how you need to feel grounded. And that's, where your entity formation is. And then we started talking about like, relationships in the heart. And I'm like, well, if you want to bring clarity to your relationships, and that's communication is through the throat, then you solidify it with a contract in your root. And then all of a sudden people were like, oh, well, that makes sense. Because, you talk contracts and people are like, that's really boring. But when you say, hey, you know what, you can make your root stronger for your business, contracts all of a sudden don't seem to be so difficult.
All right, I'm going to jump in. Although I will say my favorite guests are the ones that just, I ask one question and they provide all the content. And then I do you need to do so much less. There's so much there. Oh my gosh, Shannon, there's so much to unpack. Okay. Gosh, we're like, where do I even begin? I mean, going back to the fact that you're an artist, right? Like, I don't know, do you say, like, I find I say this all the time to my clients who come to me looking for a scientific answer, and I say law is more art than science. Like, does that resonate with you at all?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I was in law school, I'm like, cases are just stories and arguments are just pieces of a puzzle. And coming from that video editing background, I'm like, oh, we're just putting together a video. We're just putting together a strategy or an argument that is similar to like putting together clips.
Yeah. And like, look, like we might be having AI making decisions for us in the future. It's a little bit more objective. But at the end of the day, like you and I are former litigators. We know that it's a judge or jury making a decision at the end of the day, or panel of judges. Like these are humans. like filtering all the facts and evidence against applying it to the law. Like it's still humans making decisions. And when's the most recent time they've eaten lunch, right? Like they're going to make a different decision. So law is way more art than science, like, because we don't know what the people at the end of the day are going to do to interpret. And like, look, not a political show, but the makeup of the Supreme Court right now is what it is. And like precedent doesn't mean what it used to mean, like just
Right.
looking at it factually, right? So like, we don't know. We don't know. Like the answer is it depends is the answer to every question, because law is more art than science, like, period. Um, I really want to, there's so many threads I want to pull on, but like some of it, I think I could tie two of them together. So one is mindset and one is context. And so, and speaking of like art and science, so there's the, the crystals and all the holistic stuff that you're into, right? Like it's hard from a scientific perspective, maybe to prove some of the things than you would in a traditional scientific setting. But what we have done a lot of science into is, the placebo effect and things like that, and how mindset matters, right? So whether you believe in whatever your belief context is, or not, it's like if it puts you in a mindset, that has immense ramifications, right? And now getting your clients and meeting them in a mindset that makes sense for them, right? Like one of the things we talk about a lot on Law Subscribed is your ideal client profile, right? And, if they're like you, like if you could speak to them in a language that they understand, that you could put it in a context that they get, right? Like I grew up, I don't really have time for it anymore, although I'm playing a little bit more with my kid as she gets older. Like I grew up a gamer, right? So if I could put like things into the context of like video games or like tabletop games or other kinds of gamings, and like my client, like we're on like the same page there. Like, everything just starts to make a way more sense contextually. So like finding that context and weeding out those customers or those clients that there's not a match there necessarily. And so maybe it's not a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I'm like, if you're not into the woo, then I'm not the lawyer for you. And I totally agree with you. And the mindset, because when you have this strategy that meets someone that we're on a level where you can relate to them, there's synergy there. And I say that there's energetic alignment there, because it's similar to like what we're really experiencing now. We're both smiling, we're both active, we're engaged in the conversation. And as lawyers, we want our clients engaged in a conversation, especially when they're talking about their livelihoods and their goals, their dreams. Like that's one of the first questions that I always ask my clients is, what are your goals and dreams for your business? And they're like, wait, I thought I was just coming to you for like legal advice. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm going to help you with legal advice, but I can help you better when I know where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do want to slightly interrupt the flow a little bit and then let us get back into it, because I do want to tie it back into, this is why my audience tunes in, the billable hour of it all, right? And so what was it like, this whole story now that you've shared with us, to be able to transition from billing time, tracking time, to more predictable, transparent pricing?
Oh, I never liked billable hour, because billable hour was like hourly wage, like when I was in high school and college, right?
Yeah.
And I got to track my time. And it actually, I spent more time doing that. And then, I hated giving those invoices to my client, because I'm like, you never know what I'm doing and you never know how much it's going to cost. I didn't like that dubious bills, like, oh, it's going to range between X and Y. And so I started out with just switching some of the things that I knew that I could do well. I knew about how much it would take, and I knew how long it took me to learn it. And I said, okay, I started learning about flat fees. That was the first thing. And subscriptions. Like, okay, let's take a look at some of the models that are out there, like Legal Shield. Those are subscriptions. What are these people getting? And then it was an easy transition, because the billable hour energetically did not feel aligned with who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started experimenting with and learning from other attorneys like you and all the other people from Tyson's group.
Yep.
Maximum Lawyer. Oh, I was in the guild for a while, so I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot from Kim Bennett, and like, even though I knew they were doing these other things, I said, I knew that I could figure out a pricing structure that felt good to me. And sure enough, it was like, let's massage here and there. But once I had the flat fee, I switched to flat fee and subscription. It was interesting because my client base increased because that's what clients want. Like when we go to the store, we know that something is $5 or $20. We're like, oh, it's not well, it depends if you do this and that. I'm like, no. So why we all hate going to see the mechanic? Oh my God, I asked you to take a look at it. Oh, well, you're going to pay me to take a look at it. And then I'm going to tell you there's $3,000 worth of work, maybe, that's due on this car. And then when you go to pay the bill, they're like, oh, well, we had to do extra. As a customer, I don't like that. And so I wanted to put myself in the shoes of my clients. Like, I don't like getting bills that are going to be like, plus from a budgeting perspective,
100%.
Yeah. $500 versus $10,000. Like what? And then the collection.
And even if you could pay it, like even if you could pay the $10,000 instead of $5,000, like that, I know I could budget, $1,000 a month. And I could plan for that. That's something I could plan for as a business owner, as an individual, versus like the opportunity costs arise when I don't know. I don't get my attorney's bill like only every 30 days or 60 days if they even remember to bill me, right? And so like, I don't know, I'm just going to spend that money somewhere else. But like if it's a known amount, even if it's expensive, you budget for it. And it's like billable hour lawyers just don't put themselves in the client's shoes ever and think about that.
Right, exactly. And plus, like from not just budgeting, but the collecting. If you're upfront and you say, this project is $10,000, I need it upfront, and this is all of the work that I'm going to do, having that transparency also is good for the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the relationship between you and your clients, you don't just advise on legal stuff. You advise in multifaceted ways, right? And one of the reasons why I think we hit it off so well is for years now, once I had my own practice and my clients were subscribed to me, it didn't matter how long we talked. And even if we're limited to 15, 30-minute scheduled calls, schedule another one, right, and have another conversation. I have found myself, I didn't think I'd be doing this. You maybe even were a little bit more intentional, but I'm advising at the intersection of law and business and technology, right? The things that I'm passionate about, that I care about, right? And I do also just consult on technology because it's something I love doing. And you and we are incentivized to use technology since we're not billing by the hour, right? So we have financial incentives to try it out, let alone perhaps like an affinity for it. But now when I'm selling myself to like a room full of potential, Illinois small business owner clients, I could say that I advise at the intersection of those things. And they're business owners. They don't just need legal stuff. They need AI and technology and other things. And I happen to, since I'm using it in my practice, be able to advise them on that stuff too. Now, look, like, would it all be covered under attorney-client privilege? Maybe not, right? But they're getting that added value with me when they're working with me. And there's something to that. And I'm still discovering like what that's like and how to get clients and best advise clients in that ways. And you're also doing some unique things in that space. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always been tech oriented, as I was designing websites and, making videos and all of that. And I've always been tech oriented. And actually my whole practice, I've been in a virtual firm since 2011. And so this is the only way I know how to practice, and I embrace the tech, and so I can have those conversations with my clients about what tech stack they're using, how to make their lives easier, because I'm also coming from that entrepreneur perspective. Like, oh, these are the programs that I've seen that make my world easier. And so I'm going to go into AI, right? Like AI for me is fascinating. It can make your job so much easier, so much faster, as well as like, I love the intricacies with copyright and AI because of course I'm an artist, but I started playing around with AI as soon as like ChatGPT as soon as it became available, like to the public. And recently in the past year, I started learning more and more about customizing your GPTs. And so I just said, okay, let me play around with this. Let me customize one GPT just to do project management for my team. And I saw how it went so well. I'm like, oh, well, what if I create an ops assistant? And then it just became me fooling around, being creative, creating personalities and expertise and skills in these custom GPTs that now my team wholeheartedly embraces, so that I can go out and I can talk to other attorneys. I can talk to my clients about, hey, here's this thing that I've built that you can build too that will make you help you run your business better. But in addition to the tech, I also am really into human design. And human design is kind of a combination of the I Ching, the chakra system, and astrology. So, me being woo, my clients being woo, we get down the rabbit hole of talking about, oh, what is your profile like? Because then I can take a look at their chart and I can say, okay, here's where your strengths are. Let's focus on these strengths and then outsource all these other things. Because I'm like, once you understand yourself, you understand the type of entrepreneur that you can be, then your life is a lot easier. So I just see it as another tool in the toolbox that we can play around with. And I love getting into these conversations. I'm like with you, I get in these conversations with my clients about like what's going on with them and like how they can approach their problems in a certain way. And like, don't forget, these are your strengths. And I've seen how that type of approach, the tech, the human design, the crystals and all of that, I focus on the whole person. I'm not just seeing, oh, it's just another client. I'm like, no, like I'm really excited about where these people are going. And I'm so honored that they have chosen me to be their guide and to grow along with them. And like I've had clients that I've had for so many years when they just started out and now they're blossoming into this wonderful entrepreneur. And I know that I've been there for part of their journey. And it's just really exciting to me just to be practicing law this way, because it's not to me just practicing law. It's being more of a guide and being a true leader.
Yeah, and in the spaces that we fill, right? Like whether we're solos or just working at small firms or you have small teams, we become, when you're no longer billing by the hour, we become team members for our clients, right? We're part-time team members, right? Like we're not
Right.
full-time, like we're not full-time in-house, but we're these fractional GCs, we're these, like we're full team members to the extent that they have legal or other related things that we cover with our Venn diagrams of our skills. But we become part of multiple teams. And like the promise of the outside counsel, although it doesn't really happen because billable hour disincentives, we can bring our multidisciplinary, multi-experience from different entrepreneurs and different industries experience to each one of our clients. Like maybe this thing happened with this manufacturing client, but it's applying to this retail client or vice versa, right? And we have these, so we're able to be this sort of, siphon of all this information. But the promise of it is fulfilled when we're not billing by the hour because our clients aren't afraid to contact us. In fact, they may already be paying us, so they're going to contact us because they've already paid us.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like there's so much, like when it was the billable hour, it was like, oh, okay, I got to be cognizant of my time. So you only hear half of the story, only what they considered the important facts. When we're on subscription or flat fees, we get to see more of the story. Like, oh, it's not I'm working on this, but I just discovered this other fact. Well, that's going to take more time. That was the limitations of the billable hour. Now it's more of like we discussed, they're going to tell us way more things. So we get more of the bigger picture of what's going on
and
where they want to go.
Let me tell you about the brand new sponsor for Law Subscribed, Paxton. I've been using Paxton as my legal AI tool for over 2 years. I continue to evaluate and demo other legal AI tools in the market and still decide to stick with Paxton because of its reliability, its accuracy, its ease of use, affordability, and they do not lock you into a long-term contract. Now, as a transactional and fractional general counsel attorney, I'm using Paxton for all of my substantive and non-substantive legal work, whether that's legal research, analysis, drafting, or enhancing existing legal work product. In the time it used to take me to draft and analyze legal documents, now, after a little bit of back and forth with Paxton, I have something ready to go in minutes that used to take hours or even days. While I'm no longer a litigator, I could see how valuable Paxton would be when researching a new issue, preparing for a deposition, drafting a motion, or going to trial. So if your firm would benefit from using Paxton as your legal AI tool, then make sure to use the link in the description when signing up to let Paxton know I sent you. That's all about our new sponsor. Now back to the show. Yeah, and let me ask you this, because I see this happening more and more. I'm just curious to get your perspective. Is a lot of times one of the most valuable things that I do for my clients, and I've heard from some other subscription-based firms do, is just issue spotting. It's like the things you learn in your first year of law school, like issue spotting. Like that becomes extremely valuable, because then, like, your client knows, oh, I got to look out for these things, and then when it happens, they reach out to you.
Right? Yeah. I mean, and it's I love it when some of my trademark clients are like, oh, hey, we found somebody who's using our mark. I'm like, good, because now you're being diligent. You're being a good trademark owner. I love it.
Yeah. And then, like, depending on, and like sometimes I wish I was in the IP space, but it's like I can't bring in another discipline. I would maybe I have to hire another one, but I like just referring the things out, because they are still a paying client for me. Like, it's not like I lose them as a client when I go refer them to a trademark attorney. But like you could do like that 3-tiered subscription where it's like do it yourself, done with you, done for you, right? So like, you just get access to the cease and desist template that you could fill out by yourself. Level 1 subscription. Level 2, you reach out to me. We work on it together. We do it. Or level 3, it's just you send it to me and I just take care of it, white glove service, right? And you charge not just double, but like more significantly, for each tier, depending on what the client wants to do. And it's really just like what stage of their business they're at, right? Because if they're bringing in a ton of revenue, they're going to make more money by doing something else in their business than working with you to send the cease and desist. They just want you to let you know, or you've identified using some software and you just send it for them, right? I love the IP space, and I kind of wish some days I was in it, like I said, because like it's so obvious, the good, better, best pricing and subscription model in that trademark brand protection space.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make sense. And like, to go back to what you were saying, how we're issue spotting, like, we get an opportunity to educate when we're not at the billable hour. As and I wholeheartedly believe that people are empowered through education, and they feel more confident about making decisions and bringing situations to us as attorneys, especially when they can start spotting the issues themselves.
Yeah. So what my audience really likes to hear about is like the technology, like the actual tools you're using, right? And we've had people who are just like, I just automate subscriptions with QuickBooks, all the way to I have some complex, like Sam Malai, like who has like 20,000 zaps.
Right. Yeah.
He's got like, and that might even be an underestimate. It'd be like 200,000 zaps, right? In Zapier. Yeah. So like we see all different ranges of technology implementation and usage, just people, it works for them. So like, what kind of technology are you using, and what do you find is like the most valuable, like highest return on investment?
Yeah. So like, I'm using like I've been trying to make my tech stack pretty lean to see like how well I could still run lean. Because I know that there are a lot of solos out there who are like very cognizant of pricing. And so I, of course, use MyCase. I use Zapier, Google Suite, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude every now and again. And then, of course, like Microsoft Office. And I know I'm missing something. Oh, ClickUp and Slack.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
ClickUp is for my team. And it's interesting because like MyCase, they've gotten it so that it's gotten pretty pricey per seat. And so I'm like, oh, we'll just use ClickUp, because I've got staff that are not anywhere in the legal space. They're all in tech space or social media marketing or something like that. Canva, we use Canva a lot. And so we can put tasks in ClickUp and then we can play around with that. I did use Airtable for a while, and then I switched from Airtable to ClickUp because I like ClickUp better. I found it was better. I used to use Trello too for the boards, but we moved away from that. And so now it's interesting because like every now and again I'm like, let's change this. We are in Go High Level right now, but I was looking at Gamma because it's an AI website, and I'm like, well, let's see what we can play in that.
I just became a pro subscriber of Gamma for a year, so
Oh,
we'll
yeah?
see how it goes. I've just been using it to take my old decks that I've made in Google Slides and like see what it could do with it, and also like we're former litigators, we're orators, we're good at talking. Like I will sometimes just open up a Google Doc, or my brain dump Google Doc, and just just vomit all my thoughts about a topic, right? And just as detailed as I could be. So much so that sometimes the AI voice capture turns off and I need to like turn it back on, the dictation, right? And then I'll just take that and I'll put it into Gamma to like make a presentation out of it. And it does like an amazing job. Like it gets you 80% of the way there, right? And you still have to go in and get it to 100%. But like to get to 80% in a minute versus like to get to 75%, which is good enough to present in several hours,
Right. Yeah.
Like it's amazing. It's
I'm
amazing.
excited. I'm excited to try it out because like, when Canva first came out, I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like Photoshop, but like without it being so complex that everybody can use. And now they've added AI into it. And so like now you can fool around with that and
with Gamma and Shannon, I'm sure there's like tech tools you're missing. Like I gave a CLE talk at ABA Tech Show this year, and when I submitted for it, I was like, I'll do like a tech stack for a modern virtual law firm. And then it got selected, and I was like, oh no, I need to like go and look at all of my tech stack. And like when you actually start like figuring out all the little tech tools or the little apps that you use, like right now with Gamma, now I'm at 84 tech solutions, software, and platforms, right? It is absurd. It is ridiculous. And I'm sure you're if you actually sat there and thought about it. But the one that you didn't say that you obviously use something for this, well, it might be MyCase, right? Is the payments. Like how do you automate and set up the payments? Is that all through the MyCase platform?
That's all through MyCase, yeah. Because I've just kept it within there for so long, and I had MyCase payments, and I mean I can track that. I like that. I use Calendly too. I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. I'm like Calendly, so I'll hook that up for consultations for that, and I'm like, I know there's more. I'm trying to think of like the
even,
top of my head.
Yeah, even just inside of Google Workspace, right? You've got like 20 apps,
Right?
And with AI, like it's like 30 now. So have you played around at all with Notebook LM inside of Google?
No, I haven't. And I've seen that you're a big promoter of that, and there are a couple other attorneys I follow that were like, "You've got to try this." I'm like, okay, all right.
If ever you find yourself
sit down and do it.
Look, if ever you find yourself attaching a document inside of ChatGPT, you're already paying for it, right? Because you're Google Workspace. So like go like open up Notebook. I think it's Notebook.google or notebooklm.google.com. It's one of those. And like just do it side by side, connect to source. And I just find that Notebook is designed so that it's only answering you based off the source, and you don't have to do all this extra prompting on top of it to make sure it only stays in that source, right? You don't have to set up a custom GPT to make sure it only just the get to. I just want to do semantic search and analysis in this source or this set of documents. It just gets you there faster. And you're already paying for it. You're just not using the tool, right? Like you could build a gem or a GPT that does this, but like you're going to build it as well as Google built it. Like for a special, probably not, right? So like that's like I get a lot of pushback. Like, well, I'm already using all these AI tools. And I'm like, well, you're already paying for it. Like it's not any extra, if you're already paying for it. And then in Perplexity, I'm curious to know because I'm trying to experiment with this more, and I myself am like, I really just use it as a replacement for Google search. But I'm finding that like some of their other features, like their lab feature, or labs where you could like take the research you just did and now like turn it into a presentation or turn it into a document or a one pager or something, or an Excel sheet. Like I'd used it to create an amortization schedule because it's really good at math. Like, are you using that labs feature at all? Are you experimenting there with
I
Perplexity?
was just experimenting a little bit with it, just fooling around, like, what can I create with this? Because I do like Perplexities, the fact that they give like the research tools, like here's all those websites that you can look at. A lot of
Yeah.
times I'm just looking at, different things that I'm curious about, because just looking like, oh, well, what are the latest, trademark cases, especially or copyright cases, especially like I'm really interested in the intersection between copyright and AI.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, give me that. And then so I can, you know, fool around with the research on that. But now, like, I'm doing way more presentations on that intersection. So maybe I'll take a look at that and see if I can create something from it.
Yeah, I would vibe with Perplexity on that topic, and then I would just, in that same chat thread, I would just click on that labs button, and it's totally worth. I just re-upped my $200 a year for Perplexity Pro. Totally worth it. Click on that labs button and just say, great, now turn this into a presentation. Right. And even if it's not
Mm.
that great, because it's like literally coding PowerPoint from scratch and like making like a deck from scratch using code, you could export that, put it into Gamma, and be like, make this better. And it will make it so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So then you don't even have to log into Canva and find a template.
Right, right. And don't get me wrong, like I'll also create stuff in Canva and then take it and put it into Gamma now, I'm finding, because I still kind of like the customized, like, like fine-tuned, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like bespoke, like when somebody like makes a chair handcrafted, like you still like.
Oh, yeah. It's more of the bespoke, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah, you start bespoke, but then you take that, and what the AI could do with bespoke is so much better, right? So like you handcraft something in Canva, even using its AI tools, but you edit it or whatever. Nano Banana, if you're inside of Gemini, I've tried that a little bit. It's really kind of amazing. And like start in Canva, and then like you can't maybe edit it in Canva because we're not a website. We're not like, well, you're an artist. You might be able to edit in Canva, but I can't. So I take it out, I put it into Gemini, and then I tell Gemini, because I'm paying for it, right? Fix this, change that, get rid of those words or add these words, and then you can take it into Gamma. Like the moral of the story is there is no one AI tool that does everything the best, right? Like
Right.
you got to use all these AI tools.
Right. Yeah. It's the same with, like, when we talk about legal tech, I always call it the patchwork quilt. I mean, taped together with Zapier
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some way.
And that is one thing, like I've never, like I've tried to use, Zaps. I've tried to use Make. Like I don't know, like it becomes like a whole other thing to manage for me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay a true solo, Shannon. Like I'm not trying to bring on team members. I might have to, but like, yeah, for me, that's, I mean, so I could talk tech all day. Any other things we want to cover on the technology side of things for you?
Just, I always approach it like as a play tool at first. Just play. And then you can start discovering, like, oh, wait, this, like, just even your little explanation, this can make my life a little bit easier. It can take time that I'm not spending like 2 hours designing something. Instead, I'm taking like 15, 20 minutes, and then I can go and do things that are going to be moving the needle within my business.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And I really don't think it's getting rid of jobs or getting rid of business, right? Like I was
No.
never going to go and hire a graphic designer to design that thing anyway, right? But now I can get it to a point where, like, oh, maybe it's really good. And maybe because I got it to a point, now that presentation that, like, maybe like a law firm will have me come in and pay me to teach to them. Now I'm making money from that. And now maybe I will go hire a graphic designer because, like, I'm actually making money from the thing now, and I could afford that. And now that graphic designer is AI powered, and they can get me a much better results in faster time than it would have used to maybe cost like $15K to get like a logo design. And now I could, for like $2,000, I could have like my pick of like 10 really good logos, right? And they could do that at scale. And the same thing is true with legal services, I think.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that having the tech behind us actually makes us better with the fact that we're more time efficient. And plus, like, it's not taking us, oh, we got to log into Westlaw and find all this stuff too. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always seen the legal industry as so elitist. And now we're moving, just as a society, we're moving more towards like being, you know, more a part of the pack, I
Hmm.
guess,
Hmm.
for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we're able to
we're
serve the mass market, right? We're able to serve the
absolutely,
middle
it might,
market.
yeah, because I mean, we always talk about like access to legal services. Well, like now, like do people have the ability to look up things so that they come better informed when they're ready to become a client, or they have the opportunity to do some of these things DIY or done with us. Granted, I now always say like if you can afford to hire a trademark attorney, then you should, because
Yeah.
like the amount of DIY I get back from office actions.
And look, it's like it's already expensive to file, like depending on
Right.
how many categories you're filing under.
Yeah.
Like you're spending that much money and what you're not going to hire a lawyer. Like it's just one of those things where it's
Right.
already, you're already spending almost $1,000 even just for one category, right? So it's like you might like I don't know. Like at that point, it matters a lot. So hire the
Right.
expert. But if they're billing
Yeah.
by the hour, and now a lot of trademark attorneys now will have fixed rates and stuff. But I really think that the pricing model matters. And if it's priced well and the services are delivered efficiently, then we the lawyers can make good money and provide valuable legal services. So we have about 10 minutes left, Shannon. I want to make sure I cover an important topic that I know for a fact I don't get a lot of, of actual tracked downloads, which a lot of these things are private and you can't track it because like Apple privacy protections. But I've got over 40,000 downloads alone, not including LinkedIn, not including YouTube, not including just newsletter views, but over 40,000 downloads in a little over 3 years for the podcast. Very few people actually reach out. But when they do, it's oftentimes women attorneys or attorneys of color where it's resonated with them, what we're about to ask you, which is, why is it that the traditional law firm model like just has not worked so well for women attorneys of color? And you are the innovators. I mean, you've had a virtual law firm for a really long time. And I know you did talk a little bit about your own personal journey and what brought you through that. But like whether it's from your personal perspective or what you've seen in the industry, why is it that it's the women dominantly who are innovating in this smaller firm alternative fee-based space?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm speaking from experience. It was because I'm a mom. I wanted to be there with my kid. And it's interesting because when I went to law school, I came from an industry where I had no life. I was always working. And when I decided to go to law school, I said, you know what? I don't want to work in a big law firm. I knew I just did not. I didn't want to be beholden to the billable hour and the billable hour requirement, because billable hour is one thing. Then there's also client development and then meetings and everything else that take away from the billable hour. So all of a sudden you're working 80 hours a week. As a single mom, that just was not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I knew that from the beginning because I went to law school with a 3-year-old. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be with my child. And I had to find a way. And when I was approached to join a virtual firm, I said, oh, this is even better, because from the beginning, I was part of a virtual firm. Like, oh, you mean I don't have to go into the office every day? I'm not required. I could sit here at home, put my kid on the bus, be here when he gets home, take him to soccer practice. I mean, that was a huge difference for me. And also the ability to play around with tech. That's like we discussed, like I've always been into tech. I'm like, okay, well, here's the opportunity. How can I make my life easier? I can meet clients through Skype, through Zoom. I can just put on a nice shirt and, wear yoga pants or shorts. Hey, that's great. Because I'm looking at time. How can we save time? We can save time by being virtual. We can be there for our kids. And as a woman, that was really important. I want to be able to be there for my child, but also as an entrepreneur, I wanted that freedom to build a business the way that I wanted to build it. Like, there are no other law firms. Like, if I went into a big law firm and said, I want to talk to my friends, my clients about crystals and energy and human design, they'd be like, are you billing for that?
Right.
And I'm like, I want to get to know my clients on a personal level so I can help them with building the business of their dream. Well, we just care about the money. Mm-hmm. Just do the contracts, just register the trademarks. That's not energetically aligned with who I am. And I think why women are getting into this space more and more is because they start seeing how they are responsible not only for their careers, but for the family. You know, we're naturally, as moms, we're going to be taking care of everybody. That means everybody, our husbands, our partners, the dogs, the house. And where does that fit in with us? And it's usually us that is the last thing that gets taken care of. Having our own business, we set the terms. This is when I work. This is when I have free time, you know, and I'm seeing this more and more. Like, how can we add technology to make our time more for ourselves and more for our families and the hobbies, things that we like to do. And I find that there's more opportunities for growth when you have your own business. I mean, I'm so glad that I took that step and that I can serve as a role model for other women, because, you know, I'm not sitting here, you know, praying to the billable hour, you know, just like, oh, no, I'm sitting here saying, hey, let's build something together and being a teammate for my clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we're going to get any better than that. So, Shannon, I asked this question in a while because the nature of the show has shifted so much. And it's hard to find like new people that are willing to share about how their journey away from in the billable hour. But since you're a first-time guest on the show, I'm going to ask you this question. I don't know if you've ever listened to past episodes, but I'm going to ask you this one now. And that is a hot dog a sandwich, and why?
Well, I would consider it a sandwich because it is a piece of meat between two buns, two pieces of bread, you know, like when I look at that, it's like, well, you would consider a hamburger a sandwich, you know, why wouldn't you consider a hot dog? There's meat in the middle, and there's two pieces of bread.
Look, as a parent, I think you'll appreciate this. When my child was 3 and she didn't have all the words yet, you know, in her vocabulary, she saw a hot dog and forgot the word hot dog, and she said, "Daddy, are you going to eat your sandwich?" And so, you know, there's something to that, right? Like, there's something to the simplicity of, it's a sandwich, right? So anyway, that's a good throwback. And for those who are interested and have stuck around with us this long, I do have 3 compilation episodes out there that are each 45 minutes long of guests answering these questions. I've almost recorded 200 of these. So, you know, like, there's a lot of them. Well, it's going to be a while, just the nature of the way the show's evolved, until I have a 4th compilation episode. But thank you, Shannon, for answering the fun question. I always like to have a little bit of, not that this whole episode wasn't fun, but, like, you know, it's good to have a little extra fun at the end there. So if folks wanted to follow up, you know, check it out, maybe potential clients are watching, like, what's all the ways to follow?
Oh, I would definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm extremely active on LinkedIn, and that's the best place that you can find me.
All right, great.
Well, then you can links to everything else.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, links to everything on there. So stick around for a few moments because of the LinkedIn lag. But just thanks again so much for coming on Law Subscribed.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you today.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. Make someone's day by sharing this episode with them. The best way to get in touch is to follow and message me on LinkedIn. To get extra content, subscribe to the newsletter at www.lawsubscribe.com, where you can also become a paid subscriber to get episodes and content early. Until next time, this is Matthew Kurbis with Law Subscribed.